Mine's
Yeah,
yeah. I think you thought it was.
My favorite phrase.
Hi, this is Johanna. I've just lost audio.
Yeah, I turned it off, Joanna. It's back on now. You should hear it.
Thank you. I can hear you now again.
Okay. All right.
Yes, there is.
All right, time is 6 o'clock. Good evening, call the meeting to order. Good evening, everybody. All right, let's rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Well, first order of business, I'd like to welcome Councilman Breckle. Thank you, yes. Yes.
Did you get sworn in?
Yeah,
Okay,
let's not say he is officially
you
this
guys.
morning.
All right.
That's how efficient we're running these meetings now.
Right, swearing in
So,
before the meeting.
yes.
All right.
All right, we'll pivot now, public comments. Can you hear me
Of course.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. So 3 minutes, let's see, Rick Jessel.
Hi, Rick Jessel, Stevenson. I got a couple of mailers from Marie Guzenkamp Perez. And one, she mentioned a number of projects that she had done in the district here. The total was 10.5 million for all of them. And there was $1,092,000 for a wastewater system in Vancouver, 2,200,000 for septic systems in Vancouver, because they were failing and they wanted to connect them up to the mains. 1,092,000 for 2 new wells in Ridgefield, 1,092,000 for a new water fill line Longview, 2.7 million for dredging the port of Chinook. So she said that she would welcome any local government wanting to get a grant. And she specifically mentioned the water infrastructure finance and innovation at grants.gov for small scale water efficiency projects, funding to implement projects that conserve water, enhance water supply, and deliver, and encouraged local governments to contact her office. Apparently, she's been very, very active. And previous to this, when the sewer committee met, and we met a number of times, the position of the community development director and also the city manager was, it was impossible to get any grants for sewers. Everybody wants them, nobody is funding them. So apparently this wasn't the case, and Regus and Perez was able to secure that kind of funding. usually, I guess in the past, it was a local responsibility, but, I would certainly, think that, she's going to, in fact, be of help in whatever projects. So it might not be water. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mary. All right, Mary. Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening, Mary Rapar, Stevenson. I'm a member of the Plicataskan, League of Women Voters. That's a newly formed group here. We recently, signed or approved a concurrence, proposal from our national, League of Women Voters. And I'd like to read it to you. The League of Women Voters believes that all residents, regardless of immigration status or citizenship, should be treated with dignity and respect. This means that residents, regardless of immigration status or citizenship, should have access to essential state-funded services, have the opportunity to avail themselves of legal representation in court and immigration proceedings, and have the opportunity to live and work in safety. The League encourages all elected officials and government leaders to take action to ensure these fundamental rights. It also means that political leaders have an obligation to condemn xenophobia, discrimination, and anti-immigrant rhetoric, which we have a lot of that going on. I haven't heard a lot in our community, but I think it's coming. The other thing is, I want to share my pain with all of you. I paid my water bill the other day. It was $188. And so I really encourage our city council to try to help those folks who are not on sewer to get on sewer. It's time that we were all on sewer in the city limits. And there are monies out there for this. And we can go to the state legislature too. We can go to Marie, who's in Camp Perez. We can go to Senator Cantwell and Senator Murray. But it takes time and effort to do that. So I will be glad to do it. I'm sure Rick will too, to help in any of those efforts. The other thing is, I had an experience with a drone. I didn't care for the experience. It was, it invaded my personal space as I was standing in front of my house, and it went over me. So I would like our city council to adopt a drone protocol policy that prevents people's privacy from being invaded by drones being flown by people. Anybody can get a drone now, and it's time to regulate those drones and where they can be used and how they can be used. So I know there are policies out there, and I will be glad to find some good policies for you and bring them to you. But I do think it is time to, well, we need a national policy too, but in our community, I think we should have it too. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mary. All right, Brian McNamara.
Hello, my name is Brian McNamara. I'm a Stevenson resident, property owner, and I'm being adversely affected by the sewer ordinance. I sent a letter to all of you. Mr. Breckel, I didn't send one directly to you, but I look forward to that in the future, and welcome. Basically, this has been a at least 2 year long process. We were never, as owners, we were never individually consulted, notified that it was coming. And, you know, we have, as this process moved along, we have requested, hey, meet us as a group. You know, I had no idea there were 25 of us with working septic systems that were going to be expected to pay. What the past development director told me was, oh, well, you won't have to connect until your septic system goes defunct or, you know, fails. Well, that's obviously was never true. And, you know, septic systems don't just fail. They may have a leak. I've repaired mine a couple times in the 30 years I've owned the place. So, you know, it's just awful. And I've got a lot of information here. I hope that everybody can read it. I hope we get to discuss those points. And, you know, a couple of salient ones that I will make is, we have asked for an owner meeting with the council privately. We don't need, we just need to have you understand our basic costs. In my case, I have an estimate, I have a fairly easy connection. It's $8,000 for my on-site work, and another, what I was quoted was $9,000 for the development, for the construction costs of putting it up and stubbing it out. Okay, so that's outrageous. That's a lot of equity. If I wanted to sell my house, I'd have to take that off the price or get the work done. So owner and council meeting, notify each individual owner. Cody tried that after the fact. Thank you for that. But then things changed after that point. So you have our address because you're sending us the bill. So contact us. In addition, there was never been any health or safety issues ever recorded in the city regarding these 25 properties. There is no impact to groundwater that is used for potable water. There is no time line from the state that I know of to connect to this stuff. This is, it's a development issue. There is no impact to
Sorry,
the
Brian.
city structure. Okay,
That's fine.
all right, well,
We got more meetings for this.
Karen's.
Okay. All right. Bob Wertheimer?
Bob Wertheimer,
Okay.
Stevenson. I'm gonna follow on Mr. McNamara on the city sewer. Hey, thank you so much. I see a lot of new faces here. I've told my story before, but I want to tell you all, just so you're here to build on what Mr. McNamara had to say here. So back in 2000, we bought our home. From 2000 to 2012, I came down here repeatedly and asked Mary Ann Duncan Cole, hey, we want to get on sewer. We want to get on sewer. She's sorry, not available, not available. 2012, we're doing a remodel, adding a bathroom. We had to make the call. Came down here, sorry, it's not available. So I asked here in the county annex, where we got all our permits and paid all our fees for everything. If I get a functioning septic system and the sewer does come available, can you make me hook up? Will they make me hook up? County annex said no, city said no. And so as a biologist, what did I do? I went in and put in an over-designed system. So I live right up the hill there. I live on a hill. I'm a fish biologist. As a fish biologist, you live upstream of a dam and you live on a hill, right? So I live up in the hill and the road comes down, right? And so there's this sewer hookup right there. But my house is like 280 feet up there. My septic is farther away. So our estimate, he's talking 10, 20, 15. My estimate we had the trench estimated and then the hookup fees, we're over 50K, right? And you talk about homeowners. Really what most of us probably are, these 25 of us, we're probably dead owners. I'm a dead owner, right? The bank owns my home. I'm paying a mortgage. I'm still working. I'm worried about my roof. He's worried about his roof. I'm worried about my plumbing, all these different features, right? All these different things. The most proudest thing I have, the newest feature I have in my home is that over-designed septic system that you're telling me now, I'm gonna have to pay to have decommissioned. So again, we describe a penalty because we're talking about a penalty. A penalty is a punishment imposed for breaking a law, rule, or contract. The only contract I've broken or the only punishable offense I have is listening to the predecessors that worked in this office, the county annex, taking the information that they had and making a long-term design decision at my home. We talk about, I'm sorry. When we talk about this, there's a direct impact on us. I really appreciate you. Your public servants, you're in a rough position here. You're dealing with the sins of your predecessors, right? I think Mr. Cox there described it best in one of the meetings. He described this is a money grab. I'm sorry. I'm 60 years old. I wish I could retire. I could have retired at 56 if I would have had enough money, if I would have been a homeowner, but I'm not. And I've got to keep working, right? And so this is a serious decision. You're affecting people's lives, their well-being, and whether or not I can stay in this community. I wanted to retire in this community. I'm not sure I can afford to. So thank you so much for your time. This is tough. We all look forward to working with you. It's a wicked challenge. I know we can overcome it. One last thing, I would prefer we incentivize rather than penalize. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Scott Robinson.
Scott Robinson, I do live here in Stevenson, and I want to thank those people who before me today and previously have written in and have given speeches to show just how much this issue on sewers impacts us and will impact us in the future. I'm not going to discuss the particulars that have been discussed tonight, the local issues, because they've been, I think, articulated better than I could do, and they understand the issue better than I do. I do want to bring up two aspects of interest that I think you may or may not know about. On January 19th of 2026, just a couple months ago, a sewage pipe broke near Washington, D.C. And then 243 million gallons of raw sewage spilled into the Potomac River. By the way, the pipe itself was finally taken care of and reassembled 5 days ago. That's how long it took to fix this situation. The reason I bring this up is this is what you get when you centralize utilities. People who want everybody on the same system. You put all your eggs in one basket. My rhetorical question for you is, how many individual properties with septic tanks would have to fail simultaneously so that 243 million gallons of raw sewage might run into perhaps the Columbia River? Something to think about. Do you put all your eggs in one basket, or do you diversify the risk? The second thing I wanted to bring up in somewhat relation to this is that I don't know how many of you have seen the exposés from CBS's 60 Minutes on the vulnerability of all our utilities nationwide. There are bad actors, they say, both individuals and nation states and everything in between, that can destroy our fragile infrastructure, either by physically damaging them or increasingly from cyber attacks. Something else to think about when you put all your eggs in one basket. Watch these if you haven't. It'll put the hair up on your neck there. It's very shocking. So consider that in your decisions going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Rick May.
Hi,
All right.
Rick May, Stevenson. You know, the sewer is already in. So what I'm curious about is that we went through a big process to figure out what kind of payments we need to do on a sewer, how it needs to increase to be able to pay for it. And so I don't know how much of that budget, you know, how much that coming in is paying for the loans and what's outstanding on for the sewer construction. So I'm kind of sitting in a loss. I'm listening to my fellows in the community, and I'm trying to figure out how do you make it fair. At the same time, I know you guys have to pay the bill that's due. And the truth is, I don't have enough information right now to know, well, what's coming in, the 140 that's going to go up to 150 some. Is that not sufficient to pay for this? And we really need to get as many people on as possible. And if that is the case, then how do we make it so it's equitable as possible for these people? So they don't have, you know, something like this where we have, you know, $15,000 worth of costs coming out on a system that already works. So I don't know what the answer is, but what I don't know are the figures. Where are we sitting at? That's it.
Okay, thanks, Rick. All right, anybody online? All right. All right, moving on from public comments, changes to the agenda. Do we have any changes? Okay. All right. Consent agenda. Looks like we have 4 items today. I will entertain a motion.
I'd move to accept the consent agenda as written.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Sheriff's Office report. Tracy, good evening.
Good evening. Hope everybody's had a good week so far. So you should have documentation that shows the services we've provided for the month of February.
Want to see if you have any questions concerning the documents that you've been able to review? Or if you have any questions about the service that we are overall providing to make sure that we're meeting your need.
Why are you looking at me?
No comment. I like you, Dave.
I like you too, Tracy.
All right,
That's it?
that's it. Yeah.
You guys make it too easy for me.
Tracy. All right, well, something special tonight. We have a couple guest speakers. So, Kelly McKee from the Stevenson Downtown Association is going to walk us through a presentation. I'm hoping we can get it up on the screen.
Actually, Angie and I were gonna do a thing first.
Even better.
And then I was gonna do SBA stuff.
Okay.
Let's see what it is.
Thanks. This is probably for me. Thank you.
Good exercise for us too. Yeah. So I'm Kelly O'Malley McHugh with the Stevenson Downtown Association. I'm Angie Martin with the Community County Chamber of Commerce. And we thought before we both give our reports to you folks, since there's so many new people around the table, that we would just kind of do a real quick overview of the differences, because we often get the question, what's the difference between the SDA and the chamber? And what do they do? And what do they do? So we thought we would help lay that groundwork for you. Yeah.
So first of all, we're gonna start out with our organizational differences. We are both nonprofits. I am the chamber is a 501c6. The SDA is a 501c3, which is a charitable nonprofit.
And we both support and promote local businesses, but the chamber focuses on Skamania County and the Gorge region, and then we focus on downtown Stevenson.
The chamber operates the visitor center.
We don't. Our mission is to revitalize historic downtown Stevenson.
Our mission is to advocate for members and Skamania County. We do that by weighing in on legislation, advocating for our members, and doing legislative events like a hill climb and Kelly doesn't do advocacy work. Oh, sorry. Thank you. We changed how we were going to do this. So, the chamber also does marketing, or we're the destination marketing organization for the county, and we specifically have a contract with the city of Stevenson to do your tourism promotion as well. And we are membership based. The Stevenson Downtown Association is up.
Yeah, and we're volunteer based. Oh, but we also, it's not included, but we also operate under a board of directors. Those are
Our bosses. As far as business support and activities, we both offer quite a few networking opportunities. The chamber does monthly happy hour events, quarterly advocacy luncheons, quarterly new member orientations. We have an annual tourism summit, annual business resource fair, annual dinner and awards ceremony, and we do ribbon cuttings as needed. The Downtown Association hosts merchant meetups, volunteer projects, volunteer meetings, volunteer appreciation events, supporter events. They also join us in ribbon cuttings when it is in the downtown core, and they also do several downtown events and promotions.
And then as far as promotion of local businesses, the chamber just promotes the chamber member businesses. So those are regional throughout the gorge, mostly here in Skamania County. And then we only promote downtown Stevenson businesses.
And we both connect businesses to government. The chamber does, again, advocacy luncheons, advocacy alerts, like during our legislative sessions that just wrapped up. We host a legislative roundtable event, candidates forum, and a new event that's the state of the county event. The Stevenson Downtown Association connects businesses to you all. For city signage design standards, mural design standards, city surveys, and is a conduit of information to and from the businesses to the city.
And then we're unique because we provide grants directly to businesses in downtown Stevenson. So we have three types of grants right now: bricks and clicks grants, capital improvement grants, market farmer and processor grants, and then we will be introducing a mural grant this year.
And then we have specific city partnership roles. So the chamber, again, we do the tourism marketing for the city of Stevenson. We have a whole list of deliverables for that. But just a snippet would be the Visit Stevenson website, the social media pages, Instagram and Facebook. We do ad placement. We have fam tours and travel riders that we pay to have come here, and a myriad of other things. The SDA does not do the tourism marketing piece.
And we have a contract to operate a Stevenson Main Street program here. So that's our contract with you.
And then as part of our contract, again, we operate the visitor center.
And then with the city partnership, so we are a Main Street community, so it's not just about us as an organization, but Stevenson is a Main Street community. And that means when that was set up, that stakeholders throughout the community, both county and city, helped to pitch to the state to become a designated Washington Main Street community. And that means we do a Main Street approach to revitalization, which is a national model. And then a lot of that entails downtown signage and wayfinding, downtown beautification and cleanup days, placemaking and public art.
And then we both, again, do a lot of communication to businesses on behalf of the city, and awareness, letting them know when things are changing. And we also do a lot of outreach and messaging to the businesses. That's both of us.
And then also we partner with you all on anything related to streets or lighting, safety, walkability, and so for your contact for that.
And then we both do economic development, not to take away from, we of course have our economic development council. We stay in our own lane. We do our own work, but just by the nature of the things that we do, it does enhance economic development. So. Any questions? It's very, the water is a little bit muddy sometimes as to what we do, and so we just thought by putting it in writing, it might clear it up and make it easier, and it was, like I said, a great exercise for us to put it in writing, so.
And we collaborate a lot, but we also really try to make sure that we're not double doing the work.
And you share the same space.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
And
we
an
share
employee.
an employee, and we share an office. So we're really kind of interconnected and trying to really stay in our lanes, but collaborate when we can, and
Share costs.
share cost savings. So, all right,
Thanks.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
so she gets her update next month. I think.
Yes.
Okay,
I'll be
yeah,
back for my
okay.
quarterly.
Yeah. Okay, so this is my update.
Is it edible?
No edibles, but everyone can always use chip clips, right? So I come to council at the beginning of each year to give an update on the year prior. And that's why I'm here. This is just our strategic plan and our, my keys, you don't get those.
Oh, darn. That's good.
So that's our strategic plan. It's ending this year, so I'll get to that, but and then the rat card is kind of touch point on what I'll be going over, tonight. So I can share my presentation. Is there any sort of way that I can advance it, or is that gonna be problematic? Cause I can go through it pretty quick and
Be good. Alright, just use mouse wheel towards you to advance.
work. Okay. Right, so our mission at the Stevenson Downtown Association is to promote and revitalize downtown Stevenson and enrich our local heritage. Our vision is that by embracing the Main Street approach, we envision a historically preserved, economically vibrant downtown where locals and visitors come together for community culture and connection to the river. As I mentioned earlier, we're a Washington Main Street community. We're one of 41 throughout the state. And then there's also, so one of 41. So for example, Camas, they're also a Washington Main Street community. And then there's 38 affiliates, and that's where like Washougal is. And I know White Salmon is starting to have conversations of hoping to be an affiliate. They aren't official Washington Main Street communities yet, but we are. And it basically means that we are working to revitalize the economy and our downtown commercial district through preservation-based economic development. And we're an affiliate of Main Street America as well. Whoa. So my favorite quote from a former board chair of Main Street America is, "Downtown is important because it's the heart and soul of any community. If you don't have a healthy downtown, you simply don't have a healthy town." So some 2025 highlights. As I mentioned, we are volunteer based. So last year we tracked over 1,500 volunteer hours. And that estimates over $65,000. The value of it is about $65,000. And our hours increased 16% over last year. And we just, yeah, lots of people giving their time. This is broken down by quarter. You'll see quarter 2 is quite busy. That's when we are working on the streetery. We're doing Spruce Up Stevenson, all community cleanup day. We're getting ready for the farmers market. So quarter 2 is always the spike there. We have 14 different volunteer committees and groups, including our board and executive officers. Those 4 items on the right: promotion, design, economic vitality, and outreach. Those are the 4 kind of pillars of the Main Street approach. So any Main Street community has committees of those 4. Then the rest are kind of subcommittees or ad hoc groups. So one of the unique opportunities that we have in Washington State is when we're a designated Main Street community, we can work with the Department of Revenue at the state, and it allows businesses who pay B&O tax to write a check to the Stevenson Downtown Association instead of writing it to Olympia. And in return, the businesses get a 75% tax credit for making that contribution to us. Last year, we raised about $150,000 and 18 businesses participated. And there they are. Thank you very much, people. And you'll see in our financials overview, that red chart, that's from that. That's the pie of the Main Street Tax Credit Incentive Program. So it's about 50% of our revenue. And then on the right is our expenses. So about 83% of our expenses are program related, meaning those projects and all the things we do. And then 15% admin and under 2% fundraising. So we handed out 8 business grants in 2025. 5 of those are Bricks and Clicks, which have been around since the pandemic, October 2020. We did 1 market producer grant, and we implemented a new capital improvement grant program, which is up to $10,000 for a downtown business to work on improving their building. So for the longevity of their building. So we were able to do 2 of those this year, or last year rather. And all 8 of those grants spurred at least over $60,000 in downtown improvements. We operate the farmers market, and last year our attendance increased 31% and sales overall rose 18%. And we hosted our first harvest festival, which was at the end of the season as closing day, and that was a really fun spike in attendance and sales and everything. But the market is wonderful. Please come down. We start in mid-June. And we go through the beginning of October. The Streetery continued in its 5th year last year. We launched a hanging basket pilot program to test out those things in our wind and the heat. And we do plan to expand that. I'll share that in a second. But our Streetery, was 5th year. We're very volunteer driven. The furniture is built by high school students, then painted by local artists, and then auctioned off. We implemented Tuesday Tunes at noon at the Streetery, which is, it was just in July. On Tuesday, just for 1 hour at lunchtime, we encourage folks to get takeout and come just listen to music. An average of 21 people came to each one. Last year, we started Savor Stevenson, which was a progressive dinner, meaning it would bounce to different restaurants throughout downtown. And 100% of attendees said that they would return again because they had so much fun. And 63% said that socializing and meeting new people was their highlight, which was kind of a little surprising, but meeting new people because everyone seems to know people. But it was a really fun event. We lit up Halloween with the metal shop. They helped us construct those 2 big pumpkins. And then we coordinated with the city and sheriff's office for closing the street for pedestrian safety during trunk or treat. And that was pretty fun. And we invested in those snowflake lights. We did 9, and the Public Works guys installed them. So it was a great partnership. And we handle all of the downtown holiday lighting and the business contests. We launched a fall daffodil pilot program. If you haven't seen them popping up in front of Main Street, a convenience store, they're all there. Over 2,500 bulbs. We did that in partnership with the Public Works crew as well. And on a very wet day. So when the city cut the landscaper, we activated the Spruce Up Squad, which is a small but mighty crew of volunteers that came out regularly to help weed. Last year, in 2025, they increased their volunteer hours over 100%, and they filled 57 debris bags from downtown locations. And most of the time it was 2 women, and we had up to 5 at given times. And then the Mobleys, we submitted them to, and they won a statewide Washington Main Street award called the Leadership on Main Award in recognition of their 3 decades of service and their dedicated support of downtown initiatives. It's really fun. This is just our digital media summary. We have 4 social media channels, 2 for market, 2 for SDA, over 5,000 followers. We get a website gets over 15,000 page views last year. We have 1,000 email addresses and with a 55% open rate. So we are volunteer driven because alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. As you can see, we were able to accomplish a lot with the help of wonderful volunteers and partnerships with city staff. And then just a quick look ahead at 2026. So we did Love Local Week already in February, and that was really fun. We received 47 love notes to downtown businesses.
Oh.
It was really wonderful, and the businesses just loved it. We launched a downtown directory on our website. We've launched a downtown event calendar on our website. We will be doing an evolution of the streetery since we are 5 years in. We're going to do semi-permanent furniture now, not school built. So we're investing in that. We are working with Public Works on the event signage that gets put up seasonally with the banners at each entrance to try to make that improve the appearance of that. So we're underway on that project. Those 5 downtown kiosks that have like the triangle, it's not shape, it's not a triangle, but it's those columns on top of the stone pillars. We just call them the 5 kiosks, and we will be working on improving those with maps and art and events. We are the fiscal sponsor for the Grace Project. If you haven't heard of them yet, they're the mighty group of volunteers that are seeking their own 501c3 status to save and rehabilitate the Grange building. So in their discovery phase, we've offered to be their fiscal sponsor if they're able to get any money to help in that effort. I mentioned the pilot program we did, and on the hanging baskets, it went just amazingly well. So we are hanging 8 flower baskets on 2nd Avenue on the shorter light posts, and so excited about that. That'll be working on that in April. And then we are going to be hosting a mural grant this year to incentivize a business to put a mural on a sidewall outside. And then, as I mentioned, this is our strategic plan that I handed out, but we will be doing strategic planning this year to kick off 2027 to 2030. And so we will be coming back to you for as stakeholders and obviously looking at the downtown plan for success and any other key priorities the city has to be a good partner and making sure that we're in alignment when we do our strategic planning. So, woo! Love. Is there any questions?
Wow.
All right.
Thank you
All right.
for taking the time to listen to me.
Yeah.
I know it's a lot, and that's why I only do it once a year. But happy to come back whenever you would like.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Where are we here? All right, we're on to council business. All right. Oh, approval of the committees. So we've had a few changes in council. Go to page 37. I've made some changes in yellow just to kind of track what we've been up to. We have a vacant position, of course, in the planning commission, which is hopefully will be filled by the end of April, I believe, is the deadline for that. And then ex officio will be Jeff Freckle, which will be great to still have some of his presence there. The Mid Economic Development District, it's actually, this is a change to me. I didn't know this, but we share that responsibility with the city of North Bonneville. So I need to work out with JB Tennyson, who's going to represent. What else was there? So anyways, you can see the changes there. Nothing major. I do have a question, maybe, since you're here. So the TAC committee, is that something people apply for, or is it? Okay.
It needs to be 2 users of the tax, 2 providers of the tax, and then a city representative.
Okay, all right. Well, I put Alex Hayes in for that.
He's a user and a provider.
Okay, good. So he crossed. Okay, great. So that's it. So do we need a motion for that? Let's see here.
Yeah, you need a motion to approve the money assignment.
Okay, I will entertain a motion.
I also move to approve the committee assignments.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. All right. Sewer ordinance. So this, I want you to know, I think I'm up to 15 pages now. I have been hard at work putting this together. This is not an easy task to pull out the existing ordinance, break it down to a granular level, and then put up 3 other options that I think hopefully hit on, you know, incentivizing people, getting rid of terms like penalty, and just trying to find a path forward. So I was gonna give this to you yesterday, and I thought, you know what? This is where I want to redo how things are done in city council, and just dumping this on you guys a day before. I think it would have led to more questions than we would have had answers. So I'm gonna send you guys this on tomorrow or next week. Look through it. My expectation is you guys you know, reach out to each other one-on-one. I know that, you know, you have participated with this, have some experience, as does Dave, to help kind of get you up to speed. Definitely reach out to staff. They have a wealth of knowledge and information, and then users as well. So so obviously, you know, putting this together was difficult. I'm in the middle, so maybe I'm the right person to do this. I have 2 rental houses that are on septic, so I have that view, but I'm also a city resident. So I see both sides very clearly. So I'm hoping I give a really balanced approach to this. But ultimately, I kind of come to the conclusion of how do we incentivize this and how do we make this look good on paper? Not just readability, because I think that would go a long way. But, you know, by not having a policy, it does impact us with our ability to get grants. And that was something I didn't really clue in until I did some research. So if a developer wanted to develop something and we could apply for a grant, they'll look to make sure we have these types of ordinances in. So with that in mind, then it really kind of comes back to incentivize. How do we incentivize people? It looks good on paper, we're getting compliance, but we're being fair and reasonable. So I think, I don't know about you, but this is what helped it for me. And you guys will get copies of this as soon as I release it. But I put together a matrix. So you can see side by side, the current ordinance is a little confusing because there's the 25 users and how they are applied. And then there's the future users that they get hooked on. And then I came up with 3 options for us to consider, you know, whether it's a reactive model, a phased connection model that gave people time, and waiving those SDCs. That's huge. I mean, how much is an SDC? An SDC?
For sewer, anywhere from 6,600 to 11,600.
Yeah. And having a grace period to do that a few years. And then, you know, I used the word stub fee instead of penalty. I got to make sure that legally there's some other words we can use too. And it could be a percentage of sewer. So I tried to factor all those things into it. So, so this is your homework for next month. So when we get together, we can really have a really productive conversation instead of reactive. And then I think the one thing I really care about is the ordinance. So I read it, Cody reads it, we come up with totally different. It's really difficult to read. So I think that's probably the most important thing to me, is that we streamline it and make it user-friendly, and the average homeowner and resident can actually read it and understand it and digest it. So I think that's maybe some of the problem too.
Yeah, I think this is great. And I'm hoping that as we go through this process, we get a little bit closer to what that citizen group did in making recommendations to the council. I think in terms of what they wanted to see, because I think that sort of got lost either in the structure of the ordinance or how it was written. And I think the comments that we've heard on those 25 folks that are sort of that initial, I don't think anybody anticipated that when that ordinance was originally put together. Dave, you were engaged in some of those conversations as well. Just not sure. I'm not so sure
I was pretty outspoken about it too.
Yeah.
And, yeah. And when what really bothers me is when the city put in the main D line extension, there was no reason to do that, as far as I know. There wasn't a failed septic anywhere. There wasn't anything like that. But yet the city chose to do that. And now we're requiring individuals to hook onto that line through this ordinance. And there's a lot of things about this ordinance that I spoke against when the board chose to adopt it. And I continue to have those feelings for that. I think there's a lot of things that are wrong with the ordinance. And after 3 years, I'll take that to my house.
There's a reason this has been punted for so many years. It's a very difficult decision to do. So I do have some updated stats for you guys. So we have, Cody, correct me if I'm wrong. We have one homeowner that's already connected. We have one who came in this week for a connection so they can get their SDCs waived. We have 4 in the planning stages that want to connect. We have 4 people in appeal that we feel pretty confident. Their terrain and their situation is pretty unique. So that leaves about 17 homeowners that we need to really focus in on. And I provided, if you guys want the list, I can give it to you of the homeowners.
So the ones that want to connect, is it because of waiving the SDCs or something else, or because their system's failing?
Ooh, they're both, isn't it?
I don't
I
know
don't
of
get
any
too far in the
system,
weeds with them.
I don't know of any system that's failing right now.
Well, a lot of people aren't gonna know their systems are failing, unless they're getting regular inspections. I do know the first one that did connect, they were having issues with it. And I know a few people on that list of the 25 were pretty intrigued by connecting because they have had issues with their septic in the past and they were either going to need to replace it or connect. So it was a good opportunity for them.
So bottom line, are we expecting this ordinance to pay for the existing sewer system as it now stands, paying off that? Is that what this does?
I don't think that's my take. My take, I think, is more, let's get us in line with other cities and let's get us, I mean, it's ultimately up to you. Okay, so I'm just giving you options. So I just want to make that very clear. I think the grant part of this is pretty compelling too, that we lose points if we don't have this on paper somehow. But how we can kind of mitigate it is those incentives. So, and how we set this stub fee. And, you know, it's not unreasonable, but it is a cost for people. So we need to think that through. Okay.
We've incurred those costs, we're gonna have to pay them. It's just, how do we?
Absolutely,
deal with
yeah.
that?
I agree with that.
But maybe we can.
And
make
how do we
faster.
do it in, I think, the most equitable way, and one that really enhances the city as well? I think it goes back to looking ahead and saying, where do we need sewer? And how do we use that as we plan those infrastructure improvement projects? Rather than putting in a sewer line and then thinking about, is that where we really need that line? One of the things that we struggled with on the planning commission was oftentimes we're looking for those areas we can develop for residential housing, and we don't have the facilities to be able to have, a higher density residential out there. Because in this city, you've got to have room for your drain field plus for another drain field, actually 2 drain fields. So the cost of those services gets higher and higher. So how do we have a variety, I guess, or an array of housing availability out there across the spectrum in terms of cost and services?
I know for sure I'd like to get a list or the email of all of the 25 affected, because I'd love to meet with them. So maybe I can get that and then set up a meeting maybe next week, send out a mass email, because I know we can't all meet together with them.
Yeah, but I think two of you wanted to do that.
I would love to
lead
do
on that. That would be great.
Okay.
Okay, I'll get you that list.
Okay.
All right. Okay, anything else? All right, so more to come next month. Next month will be a big month though. All right, Rock Creek intake rehab, Cody.
Yes, this is a hard one to describe because there are so many moving pieces to this project being an emergent situation. So largely what we're looking for is to get consensus and approval for the scope of work and to enter a contract with Grayling Engineering to start moving forward with this emergent work. Within that information, probably like one of the most helpful pieces of literature in there was kind of this chart that they provided of technical steps. The big thing with this project is, so we have a grand total of the engineering side at 257,000. And some change. But it's important to know that there are many portions of this project that if we get to a step, things are going to get taken off of that. Things are going to get added. This is our worst case scenario. We might be 100 into it, 150. It's all gonna kind of depend on over the next month and a half, what we find out, what scoping the line, cleaning the lines, and doing some work to the actual. Yes,
Okay.
yeah, the actual intake. So for instance, there are services that are guaranteed. We are going to bring a company called AUS in. They will be diving into the wet well. They will be installing cameras into the manifolds and inspecting. And the three things that they're gonna largely be looking for: sediment in the lines, breaks in the lines, rocks in the lines, just trying to figure out why we are not able to gather water into that collective. Because of the stringent timeline we were on, at the same time, Grayling is going to be working on the engineered drawings to replace the entire system if that's the need. We don't have the luxury of time to do one and then the other. They have to kind of run in conjunction. So those are the services that are going to happen regardless. So for instance, the inspection cost of AUS to come out and do all this work is $9,000. If they get in there and they find that the manifold's broken, we're obviously not going to pay them to clean it. But if it does look cleanable, then there'll be a $25,000 charge. It gets confusing and it gets gray. But the best information that I can provide is worst case scenario, what we're looking at. Keep in mind, this does not include construction cost. I did have them give us their construction estimate with the 60% plans that wasn't originally in there, so I had them add that into the scope because I feel like we need to have a good understanding of what we're gonna get into. And that should be probably in later April that we'll be able to get that number. So my intentions of paying for this is we have that 170,000 in the budget and the water system right now for that water system plan that got kicked off to next year by the Department of Health. So I'd like to reallocate that 170 to just start paying off on this potentially 256, maybe less. It's gonna take some time to eat through that. We've got some time. I don't wanna go crazy asking for more money or more budget requests or pulling bonds. I mostly wanna get divers in there and kind of see what we're dealing with. But prior to that, we do need to enter a contract. So we would be open for a motion to do that, but before we get there, I'd love to answer any questions you guys might have.
Yeah, I think the intent would be every month and we'll give an update on where the project's at, where we're at on dollar figure. And if we start bumping up past our budgeted amount that we have line item for another project, that we can, have enough time to do a budget memo. If we needed to pull out a bond, we could, or hopefully maybe we'll have some money in our budget that can compensate for it. So we'll know more as this goes on.
I'm still pursuing grants. I'm still reaching out. I might have, sent an email for Mr. Jessel's comment already while we were in the meeting, so pursuing any opportunities I can, and I will continue to do so.
Any idea what you're gonna do if they take a look at those manifolds and find out they aren't plugged?
Aren't plugged? Then we're gonna have a great day.
Well, if they're not plugged, then it's
That,
probably,
what that tells you is that there's an overburden on it. How are you gonna deal with that?
I'm sorry, what was that, Dave?
What that should tell you is there's probably a lot of overburden on it.
Correct, yes.
And it'll need to be dredged out
It would be excavated out.
or excavated.
So it'll be cofferdam excavated out, and so they've ran the proposals of if that is the scenario, they could carefully excavate out and expose everything, refill the area with the correct materials and not replace anything. But to me, the cost saving isn't there. If we already have a cofferdam up and we're already excavating, we'll rip all that old 1970s pipe out and replace it. Yeah, the other really useful is they did run through the 4 likely scenarios. The one is just sediment over the years. The second is currently we back flush that system with Levon. There are days where there's higher turbidity, and so there are some concerns of the turbidity getting stuck in the mesh screens on the way out, which could also be preventing some water from getting in, both of which the cleaning would tremendously help. Our goal and our hope is to be able to get from 110 gallons a minute up to 250 gallons a minute with doing this cleaning. And then we can pump the brakes on everything, focus back on long-term water where we want to be, but have a reliable, safe water source for the summer. That's the magic bullet we're hoping for, but given the time, we kind of have to plan for worst case as well.
All right. Okay,
Any other questions?
all right, well, I'll entertain a motion.
Good evening. I just have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Of course.
This is where it hopefully will reinvigorate this source for the summer. I mean, are we looking beyond that?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. If we can up our gallons per minute, we feel pretty confident that it'll last for multiple years while we finish long-term.
Okay.
There's obviously no guarantee, but this system's been in place since the late 60s, early 70s, and it's never been jetted before. So if that is the actual issue, then it should serve us for several years.
Several years, but we don't really have any way of knowing how long that might be.
No, but in conjunction, we're focused on our long-term water supply right now. So it would allow us to pivot back into that. And if we stick with the surface water then we will rehabilitate Rock Creek, but we will use a very different system. It'll be more of a drum screen to pull water in instead of the manifolds.
So Cody, you're looking at, moving $86,561 out of the 170.
No, I just want to use the 170. And then if we start getting to a point to where we're running out of that money, then that's where we would be looking to gain that other 86,000, either from a bond or a different asset.
Or a different project if we'll have to go through the budget. But I think we gotta do this project. Let's get moving on it, is my advice. And, now hopefully we don't have to spend the whole 250,000. And I think that's where we're coming back to you guys every month and telling you where we're at on it.
So there will be decision points within that contract?
Oh, absolutely. And I made that explicitly clear with Great Lakes. If we hit certain trigger points, we can back out.
So you're asking for an additional about $87,000 added to the budget.
Potentially, yeah.
That's what you're asking for now, correct? Not potentially, correct. That's what you want.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
You're
We're
asking for,
committing ourselves.
you're asking us for a supplemental budget for $86,000.
Yeah, that hopefully we don't have to spend. So, it's kind of we're going in with a contingency ask.
It's kind of like a retainer.
We're asking for it all, so that way we have it all. In hopes that we don't have to use it all.
Wish my home finance was working like that.
All right. Any more questions? All right, well, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve Grayling Engineering to conduct work related to the Rock Creek intake rehabilitation as proposed in the scope of the work provided not to exceed $256,651.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? Okay. All right.
Dave, can I ask why? You mind?
I'll discuss it with you offline.
Okay.
Okay. Action item driveway standards, Cody.
Yes, I am back up. Hold on, back up.
Only problem with that agenda item is the resolution got drafted about 5 minutes before their meetings. I just got it over. It hasn't been circulated.
Oh,
And that's just, it was a timing issue.
okay,
So we have it, but council has not actually seen the resolution, which is simply to adopt the standards that Cody's proposing, but it's not available to you right now. I sent it to Daniel because I need to make a word tweak to it.
okay,
So it can be available.
I
okay.
can explain the standard and you guys can decide if we would like to move forward or want to do the work.
There you go.
Essentially,
Is there any issue with just holding it over to next month?
we certainly can. That's not a problem if that's how you'd like. It's just.
I'd prefer to see what the resolution is in detail. That's my own preference.
Yeah, Cody did put together the information that is in the packet, so we can explain to you what's gonna be changed, but the resolution itself, the document.
The legalese.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all we're missing, is
Yeah.
it?
All the documents
Yeah,
are.
everything else is in your packet, just not the resolution to approve. So I mean, Cody wants to explain the issue to you, so you're aware of what he's changing or seeking to change.
So currently our driveway standards are capped at a 20-foot width off their approach, and that carries 30 feet past the right of way. That has hit a lot of constraint with local builders, local developers, home owners that would like a wider driveway. Especially on some of our smaller lots, that 30 feet takes up the whole thing. So what we are proposing to change is upping that to 24 feet and then stopping the city standard at the right of way. So after the right of way, they could go wider if they chose. And then the other big thing is we did not actually have a diagram within our standard details or drawings. So that they would be adding one to also alleviate some of that confusion. Prior to that, we just had it in small boxes on the bottom. Here's the driveway width, make it conform. So that's really all the changes. It's just making it a little bit easier for the builders. This is direct feedback I have received by numerous people throughout our community since I've taken this position. They're bringing it forward to you guys in hopes that we can ease that up a little bit more.
So 4 extra feet, just gives them a little more flexibility. Sometimes their lot is, for whatever reason, we ran into that recently with Chinnadeer.
These standards were developed in 1999. And I would certainly imagine a 20-foot driveway pulling up to a garage was probably adequate at that point. Now today you see your standard 2-car garage has 2 10-foot doors, usually has 18 to 24 inch space in between them and 18 to 24 on both outside. So that 20-foot really chokes it down where people are not even able to utilize their driveway. They're stepping into their yard when they get out of the car, etc.
Is this the same one where we saw a resolution from years ago that the council granted it to be up to 30? Or is that a different issue? That's a different issue.
I don't remember that.
Okay, never mind. Okay. Okay, I mean, and I will say, we've had instances in the past, because we have to go and inspect this. I mean, we've had individuals, homeowners who put in a driveway who've had to, shave off a foot of their driveway in order to get their certificate of occupancy. So a little flexibility here would go a long way with our builders and our residents. So, okay.
I'd move to adopt the driveway standard resolution upon the recommendations of our legal counsel.
I'll put it on the consent agenda for next month, so you get full approval.
Okay.
Perfect.
So we'll, okay.
Yeah, it'll just be on,
The next one.
right.
Okay. Alrighty. Item F, contract and service agreement with Skamania County EDC. So, this one was a little, we just got it this week.
Excuse me, Mayor,
Yes.
did we do the engineering standards?
Oh, I'm sorry. I got confused
On
too.
Toa.
Sorry.
Yes, so no,
E.
I don't need no motion or anything tonight, just I sent these to you guys earlier in the month. Shell Engineering and myself have gone through them and kind of revised, again, 1999, been a long time. There's been some minor revisions, but no major overhaul. So these align us a lot better with, similar size cities, Benton, Washougal, Camas, a lot of them come from Ridgefield. I will resend them out to you. I've made a couple final tweaks after I've got some critiques back from some local contractors in the PUD as well. So I'll highlight those changes that they're making currently and send back out to you, but hoping to just have a discussion if anybody had questions, and then hopefully put them on the table to approve for the next council meeting.
And again, this will make our builders and homeowners
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
happy.
It's just some much needed streamline.
Yeah.
And there's a red line set in the agenda packet if anybody wants to get back to Cody with additional changes, comments.
For some late.
But we'll have that resolution ready for next meeting. It can also go on consent if you approve those by the time we get there.
All right,
Thank you.
good, okay. We'll visit that next month. All right, next item is the contracted service for the EDC. So this one was a little late getting to us. I just got it this week. Unfortunately, their contract for 2025 was paid out in what, January?
In the 13th month, yeah.
Yeah, so it ate away some of the line item dollar figures. So we're gonna have to probably do a budget memo for that, and collect the difference.
Do that again.
They didn't provide us with their invoice for their contracted amount in a timely manner, so it didn't come out of the 13th month calculations either.
Just like the auditor.
Very similar, yes.
So,
Unbelievable.
so we're gonna have to, do some budget memos. Maybe we can do that ready for next month. And, so the auditor, and then also, this one. And I think, just reiterating with, the EDC to get us the stuff ASAP. But this does, of course, support their operation, economic development of our community. It's very, very important. I do want to highlight out of the 30,000, we pay, an organization called CFM. And I met with them. They're great. That is our lobbyist agency, under Kevin Waters. That we, spend money for them to go get us grants and help us get grants. And we've been a little disconnected from them, it feels like. And I've been trying to work towards, partnering more with the EDC and the racking and stacking of projects and making sure city projects are well represented. So that when opportunities like come up, that CFM knows us, knows what we need, and I mean, we're paying for it. Why not utilize them? So that is included in that as well. And that isn't just economic development, that could be a water line or a water fix. So, it's pretty broad. And they brought in quite a few grants for our community, in partnership with Kevin. So they work hand in hand with Kevin.
Jane, how much was that 13th month bill?
The last invoice was just over 15. They, 50,435 was the second half of their contract.
Well, we can't control when they give us invoices, so, it is, it's kind of the sticky part, so.
Well, you're gonna need to pass a supplemental budget for that kind of money.
Yep. Would you rather do that before?
Absolutely. Well. You're gonna have to figure out where that 50,000 is coming from.
30,000.
Oh, 15. 15 was the 15,435.
Like I said, 50.
Not 50. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're $15,000 short for the year for this type of activity. Now, we might be able to make it up in some other line item.
That's up to you, Mayor.
Yeah.
We've given you the amount of money.
I mean, that's kind of it. I mean, it is-
As long as you stay within those line items, I don't care.
I guess, that's kind of, as we fumble through this, that is kind of, it's the second month of the, we've gone through the second month. How often do we do budget adjustments?
Amendments as needed.
Okay.
It depends because our budget's approved on the fund level, not the account level. So as long as the fund doesn't go negative, then we're okay. But making sure that things are tracking properly
for our 26 year, this puts a chunk in their
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure you guys were aware, we're gonna have to, fix this. So we're not just approving it and then you see a negative balance and
We may need to have another budget meeting
okay.
to discuss this stuff, because
You've typically done that in June or July when you've done those.
I think we need to do it quicker than that, Robert.
Again, yeah, it's always up to council, but it's typically June, July, you guys have revisited the budget lines, made sure they're correct before you started into the next budget period.
But this is basically a situation created by their late invoicing.
Yeah.
They have a 13th month that you can pay
Yeah.
January,
Right.
and those billings were supposed to have been into us so that we close out 2025.
Yeah.
County has not done that, neither has the EDC. So we're at a deficit of between the two, what, 45, almost $50,000 that has already affected the 2026 budget. And I've got issues with that.
Well, and I would too. I know that in some of the agencies that I've been associated with, we've always put folks on notice that, hey, get your 13th month invoice in, because if it doesn't come in.
Yeah.
It doesn't come in.
Yeah, I don't know how we would do that with the elections, portion and then also our EDC.
Yeah.
I just,
It's,
we're gonna have to pay this.
well, yeah, I don't dispute having to pay for services rendered. I just would hope we would have a little more consideration in terms of their timeliness of the invoicing, so, it doesn't generate additional work.
Because then, yeah, it
Confusion here.
it makes us do a lot more work on our end in order to be able to facilitate this. Which is, we've got a lot of other issues to be dealing with other than late payments. So,
Well, maybe we'll talk about this at the budget section under the funds and we can see how we're performing under this particular fund. And if there's money available, we may not need to do a budget adjustment. So, there's that portion too. So, what else was I gonna say? And I know, I'm not making excuses. I know Kevin's in session and it's, it's just, it is what it is. So, and I agree, I don't wanna make us a bunch of work. Ideally, it'd be great, to get this paid and then we can sort out the budget. But we need to be better about tracking these things and having an active list of, okay, well, we think we might go over here, there's a variance here, and then asking for a variance request, maybe that's quarterly. These are the things we know that, we're gonna need to request. So I kind of look to you guys.
Yeah, it could be as simple as just having a tick list, so when you're approaching that 13th month, you're going out to those folks and saying, hey, we're on the 13th month, please get your invoices in. That might help too.
and having reviewed the financial documents for this month, we have no idea what our current fund balances are.
I think we're gonna talk about that, aren't we? Yeah. It's,
Because it's not in the paperwork.
it's not in the packet?
There are no fund balances in the packet. All there are is what our payroll has been, what our checks are. And then what was budgeted. But there's no fund balance prior to where we are budgeted.
That's not, is that like the variance report? That's what I call it.
The budget position report shows
Budget position report.
the utilization of each account that we have within the budget. But it doesn't provide the balance, like a running total.
Yeah, prior balance of the fund.
You want me to add that?
So that we have an idea of where those funds, how those funds are affected by stuff like this.
Okay. Okay.
And we don't have that information.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I would move to approve the 2026 contract with services agreement with the Community Economic Development Council. In the amount of $29,731, this contract supports business development, regional partnerships and economic initiatives that align with the city's goals of strengthening our local economy and supporting sustainable growth.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right,
But in the future, can there be some sort of penalty that's assessed to people that, I mean, I don't know,
yeah.
just in the future, I don't, if, you know, they don't turn in an invoice to get paid, and that's a lot of money just to add on, that maybe there's a percentage of a fee or
Yeah.
something, I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough when they're our partners.
Well, I know, but
Yeah, but
you-
I think just,
it is running a business,
yeah,
and yeah, I mean,
I think, yeah,
that's,
we could do better at reminding. You wanna make payroll, okay.
And just for a start with Ms. Van Pelt, we did, in October of 23 and October of 25, we got the EDC contracts then, and they were approved for the next year. The EDC just didn't get us one in October when they usually do. So that's when I went back and checked the prior dates. Just this one didn't make it to us in October.
Well,
right.
A
I'm
little
not
more
just saying just
context.
that you need
No,
to,
no,
but
I understand.
anybody wanting money
All right.
needs to get their,
Yeah.
that we're gonna be giving them money, they should get it in a timely manner.
let me back up. This may not be the EDC's fault. So it sounds like they dropped off something on paper this fall, and that was the last anyone heard or saw it. So, somehow this got missed. So, okay. And we should have had more, all of us should have had more eyes on it. So, all right. Maybe there's a simple checklist we can do at the end of the year too, of all of our partners for the next year to make sure that they're paid through, and pricing these out. Yeah, we can definitely do better there. Okay. All right, that's it for, guest speaker, or excuse me, for, council business. All right, informational items. So, as far as, what I have for update from the city administrator perspective, so I've been busy putting together, the job description, which is in your packet for the city administrator. I've made quite a few changes here. I really took it was kind of a hybrid from a little bit of Marianne, a little bit of past administrators and Liana. It was very clerk, treasurer centric. I really kind of took it out of that and put it more into a leadership level of expectations. Made it a little more broader, and just kind of put some more descriptions in there of expectations. And also loosened some things up that were maybe, as far as a staff function, we need more of a leadership role, more of a financial type, strategic level of leadership. So the new job description is in the packet. I think my understanding is I can put that into the personnel policy. You don't need to vote on that. We vote on it if it's changing,
Already changing compensation.
compensation. There was a few keywords there. So I think I'm good there. That will speed things along. So if you guys have any comments, reach out to me individually. I'm open to it. I've submitted it to Prothman, but it will be posted, copy of it here on, Monday. So then we'll start the official process. And it looks like, the application closing date will be April 26th. We'll start interviewing candidates, but it's looking like maybe, interviews, final interviews June 1st-ish. And then, this is a mid to late July. So I'm trying to expedite this the best I can. So an interim is still, it's not off the table. I keep going back and forth about, well,
You're doing fine.
yeah,
You're doing fine.
you get what you pay for at this point. So I know getting an interim, getting them up to speed, as soon as they get up to speed, we've got something else. So I want to carefully think through that, and maybe there's the right person for that. So I'm still open to it. But it's also a lot of work. So there's that. So
Sorry, just meant one question, Robert, state law in regards to the clerk treasurer position and eliminating that, are we at a point where we're gonna have to address that?
Yes. I mean, you need to decide if you're gonna have a clerk or, treasurer position, who it's gonna be, just your. Because the mayor's mentioned that several times, it's something she'd like to see, eventually we need to fill that spot.
Because right now, the city administrator
Is signing off.
is signed off on that.
Right,
So if we move that away, then there's requirements change there.
correct.
And are we at that point yet? or-
No, you're not at that point yet. I mean, you still, again, you're basically changed the dynamic and the personnel of your city, at this point. So putting somebody back in that position is what, the mayor is looking to do.
Okay.
But we're not
based
running
upon-
afoul of not
But
having
based
it.
upon the current job description for the city administrator, so they're also the clerk treasurer.
Right, in our current.
She's taking that out of this position. So when does that take place? Is what my question is.
Can't we just determine, it doesn't need to be in the job description, can't we just say, this person is this?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, your city clerk, obviously your city administrator, you want more job detail and information.
Absolutely.
Yeah, city clerk is basically start listing off the jobs that we do here.
yeah.
When you get to 15 pages, stop, then you can sign off. But the question is just one, hiring somebody to do that and fill in that role.
Thank you.
I didn't, it's, I wanna get the right candidate and,
I have no
Yeah.
problem with it.
Yeah, okay,
I just wanna make sure that we're covered as far as state law
Okay.
goes. And that term,
Yeah.
moving those duties away from what the personnel policy currently is
exactly.
to something else.
So my goal is to start at the top and then, that individual kind of then helps us, but we need to give some official titles to folks to fill the
Yes.
legal requirements, as well as just, I mean, it's not easy not having an official clerk. I mean, everyone's doing a little bit of everything here. So Caitlin, Jane, Daniel, thank you. Oh, and Cody, thank you. It's been challenging, just tracking of our resolutions and all of our legal information and making sure everything is signed and all of those things that happen behind the scenes. If one little thing can go wrong, and that's where we need that clerk just to make sure everything is, it's an office manager, but everything just flows. So, I think that's one of the weaknesses I'm really starting to see with the city. Okay, so that is the recruitment update. I don't think we need anything else there. All right, financial, Jane.
So this month I provided you the treasurer's report, which shows the balances in our account. Our checking, our express bill pay, which collects our bill paid items. We transfer that money into our checking to be used, as it's supposed to be distributed. The investments, LGIP and US Bank. We have one bond that's coming due in the US Bank safekeeping in August. That'll be our last lower interest COVID bond. So our return on those is going to be just under 4% average for all of our loans there. Or not our loans, our bonds. So then it gives our final balance, including investments, just over 8.2 million. So do you guys have any questions on the account funds or anything from the treasurer's report?
Budget position,
The budget position report?
which I always call variance report. So, I mean, as I go through this, I can see the amount budgeted, I can see, let's say, revenues, I can see the amount remaining, and I see the percentage.
Yeah,
And I think, if we're through month
yeah, so this shows
two,
month, 1 through 1, 2, and then part of 3. I can't give you since I haven't reconciled March, it doesn't give you 100%
I know.
accuracy, which is a problem.
so when you see the percentage, I'm aiming for 80%.
Mhm.
That's where I know I'm on budget.
Mhm.
If I see 90%, I know I've got more than I need, and if I see under 80, I know I need, that's a fund we need to pay attention to, or see,
Yeah.
making sure it balances out.
Yeah, depending on time of year.
I do think it's interesting that the city, I don't know why we do this, but typically you would go through a specific month. So as a budget owner, I would get, you know, January's, then I get February's, and somehow we get the middle of March because we want to do, I know you were, you know, doing this right before council, so it's as of today, but I can't really compare that because it's midstream.
Right.
So,
Yeah, so I just need to determine like how does council want to see information? Do you want the month that's been completely reconciled? Do you want it up to as soon as I can get it before the council meeting? What is preferred?
so, yeah, I mean, typically in business, you would give through the month, then your variance, you could see that, you know, up where you're at. I mean, that would be my preference, and then it's closed. There's less likely for error, and I know there's a lot of scrambling at the end. I'm just trying to get us and council in a little more predictable place.
Right.
Where this is the closed amount, this is where we're at. Yeah, we've got some more vouchers coming through. You'll see those next month. So what are your guys' thoughts on that?
I think I would prefer to have the month closed.
Yeah,
So for example, for the first quarter,
yes,
you would be addressing that at the April council meeting.
For January, February, March.
For January, February, March.
Yeah.
Would be at the April.
Yep.
Yeah.
what if we did that and we closed at the month end and presented you at the next council member with that previous month end? And then quarterly, we did our budget adjustments. The things we know
On a routine basis.
on a routine basis, that we would know and we would have it scheduled. Oh, it's April, it's quarterly adjustments. We have a standard process of form. You could see what was up or down. So,
But you'd also need to know what the balances were in those different categories as well. Because if you're having to do an adjustment, if you're gonna be asking for a supplemental budget, that's gonna affect the balance of your fund. In other words, if you're having to add $50,000 to a line item
yeah,
and through a supplemental budget,
uh-huh.
you're gonna have to go back to the fund that $50,000 comes from
Oh.
and pull that from that balance. And so you have to know what those balances are in order to be able to determine whether or not we have the money to be able to do a supplemental budget in the first place.
And if we don't,
And if you don't, then you don't get a supplemental budget, or you pass a bond or do something else.
well, we would pull a bond or we would make budget cuts, and that's a different conversation.
And again, that comes back to, and I agree with Jane in regards to her bottom line budget. But thing is, we still have to pay attention to those line item budgets and how that's moving. And then, for example, his $170,000 that he has sitting in the water fund, he's planning on using, okay? So how does that affect anything further down the road, say in October? Now all of a sudden, he needs some of that $170,000 that he's already used it somewhere else. So now you come and you have to pull from your balance of your general fund to supplement your water fund. So you have to juggle those things back and forth. Even though we're technically bottom line budget.
Well, and I think the water one is a great example. It's an emergency. We found most 3/4 of the money.
Yeah.
And if we need to go find the rest, that's part of the budget variance process, or excuse me, the budget adjustment process is we show you where we're pulling it from.
Yeah.
And if we don't have the money, then what budget cuts are we taking? What are we taking away?
How are you doing it? Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Okay, is that not how it's done in the past? Okay, well, we'll figure it out. Work in progress. So, I'll take the action then. Let's start just closing out at the end of the month, which is, that will really help things, less mistakes and less, because there's a lot of things that go on. I can tell you, there's a lot of things that go on right before council, getting ready for this.
Oh, yeah.
So, that would really help, I think, our operation. And then, April, which is next month, let's get ready for a budget adjustment.
Okay.
Quarterly adjustment process. Sounds good. Okay.
Cool.
Okay. All right. Where were we? Okay. Um. Well, okay, so mayor report. Okay, couple updates for me. I know we've been talking a lot about videos and the so I think where we're headed on this is we'll probably be moving the videos to Vimeo. Most likely, it's very similar in nature to what we have today.
That's VIMEO. VEM?
And Vimeo,
I'm here, okay.
right? VI, sorry. You were right, Dave. You would still access them from our city website. You click on the link and it would just show up embedded in the city website there. So it's not a social media platform. It's professional. Lots of other municipalities use it. It has closed captioning. It's a better control for us and it's a paid service, pretty minimal, but we would have more control over it. So that's kind of, I think, where we're starting to land. I don't know if we'll pull the trigger on that, but I'll keep you in the loop on that. And then all of our older videos we move over there too. So, city planner. So I think the county is doing a great job. I've heard a lot of great feedback about that and got their invoice this month. It's pretty reasonable as far as the service we're getting. But I still think we need to look at some sort of consultant as far as a planner to help us with the long range planning. So I've drafted up a scope of work. I'll send it out to you guys to kind of look at the higher level. I know that the planning commission has expressed interest in this as well. In the scope of work, I'm focused in on middle housing. It's kind of the terminology they're using now. And how do we encourage developments and infill and some of those other things within the city that have kind of been problematic that we've heard from. So as well as a whole host of other things that, you know, the comp plan and other programs that we need to get going on. And then I think overall, you know, Daniel, you're doing a great job streamlining our processes as far as what I'm seeing in efficiency. And every day we're learning something new, aren't we, everybody? So I just want to give a shout out to the team for really helping me out through all this. So thank you guys. You guys are doing a great job. All right, that's it for the mayor's report. Staff report, Cody.
Yeah. Projects. Last time we spoke, a couple weeks ago, or last month, we're having some problems down on Cascade, getting some of our punch list work done. With the help of Robert, we finally got some movement. So we've had the contractors come back down and they've probably completed about 70% of the punch list. The remaining items will need to wait till better weather, they're paving and seeping and stuff like that, but the road looks a lot better. It's a little bit smoother. Still not exactly where I want it to be, but we're getting there.
Are we gonna completely repave Cascade then?
Well, a lot of it, no, or more than I'd like to. But my hope is we can do some patching, you know, we'll pave our trenches, right? And then, depending on how that holds up, I'd like to look at chip sealing. Just to get a fresh overlay over it, seal everything in. But
Keep the water from getting through.
exactly, I think chip seal would be really appropriate down there, so. Lasher, we completed an open house last week, which now pushes us up into the second stage of the CDBG grant application. I'm working on that now.
And this would be a next year project.
Correct.
And I think the thing we're most focused on is it was about $50,000 out of a $1.9 million project. 50,000 would be city funded, so pretty small. I know that's a concern for us.
For sure. The other project that I've started very low level, surface level scoping would be Levens, which we've all kind of talked about would be the kind of the next priority. So I've been working with one of our own call engineers to kind of get some minimal scoping, which will allow us to apply for some grants this summer to either complete next year in 27 or 28. Then I'm kind of working on two little niche projects, both of which council approved to put into the budgets for this season. The first one being insertion valves. So throughout the city, we have a lot of valves that are 50, 60 years old that just don't work anymore. These valves are used for isolating the lines, so mainline breaks or side breaks or whatever they are. We've identified about a dozen of these valves that we would like to add or replace, but they are, given the specific type of service, it's done live, they are very costly. So we've narrowed it down to doing 3 or 4 a year, and I've been reaching out to different vendors and getting the best price we can. I feel like we got pretty lucky. I found a vendor that's actually fairly close. I think they're out of Salem, so really drastically cut costs because they're not paying for lodging and flying and equipment and stuff. So I was seeing $60,000, $70,000 quotes, and I got this guy down to 30
For all of them or
for 3.
For 3.
And it'll just be a multi-year.
Okay.
Council will allow that money that we'll just keep stacking.
And we have money in the budget this year for this?
Correct. The other odd project is the Rock Creek Pump Station, the wastewater one. Coating has failed. We put in the budget this year to replace that. It's difficult to find the right kind of contractor for this work because there needs to be bypass pumping included. And then lowering people into the wet well, they sandblast or remove all the old epoxy and then spray on the new. So reaching out to a bunch of different vendors and getting some good leads and starting to get some numbers back on that one. Engineering standards, just minor tweaks to those. We've had a few issues at the wastewater plant. We are getting some water into some of our electrical components on the new aeration basin. It seems like water's getting into some of the conduits and it's fried a couple of our sensors. So our dissolved oxygen meter went out, as well as our pH meter went out this week. We're still under warranty, so we reached out to the contractor who is inevitably pushing back on that, but we're not backing off on that one. So we will make some progress. It's all very new. It's kind of coming down this week. I set up a meeting next week for our industrial systems engineer who designed all the electrical components. So they'll be able to provide some support, but we're talking half to 3/4 inch of water in the devices.
How big a conduit is that?
Half, yeah.
Is it big enough to put in a small can, run it up and find out where the water's coming?
Oh, we can tell you right where the water's
Oh,
coming. Yeah.
We found that.
Yeah. It's just the seals. It's the rainwater getting on and it just slowly has dripped in over the last 6, 7 months. And it terminates at the high point, which is the equipment. The electrical installation company is arguing that it's condensation. But at the end of the day, there should be no water in there per our electrical code. It needs to be prevented no matter what in a wet system, which a wastewater treatment plant is. So either way, we are working on getting that replaced. Streets, I met with the county to get some costs on some paving projects for this summer, mostly in the Roselawn and Lower Roosevelt areas, what we're kind of targeting. Parks, Councilmember Van Pelt and myself met earlier this week to discuss a possible project of putting a play structure somewhere within the city. We talked about what we'd kind of like to see, where they could potentially go, what funding could potentially look like. Some of our big things is open for a wide array of ages, to where it could fill those age gaps from, 2 to 12 kind of. Definitely looking for that ADA compliant, more of a low impact, low maintenance style. We both there's some parks in Washougal that we both like, and there's some parks in Hood River that we like. So trying to focus on something like that. I did want to bring this up to council, see if Ms. Van Pelt has anything to add, but just to kind of get the opinions of the council to see if this is a project that we might be able to start low level pursuing and looking at options.
Well, we got Stevenson Elementary sitting over there. I mean, my kids were growing up. They had that covered play area there that all the kids, they called it the ghetto. And that's where they would play their basketball in the evenings. And there's a lot of property there that the district owns. In fact, they've even got a play area there all fenced in and everything already, complete with toys still sitting there. So, I don't know if maybe we could do something with the school district, partner with them on part of that property. Because that's pretty centralized and it's off of the main corridor enough traffic wise that it's a lot safer than putting it like downtown.
Oh,
So,
absolutely, yeah.
anyway, that would be my thought. Is take a look at Stevenson Elementary, maybe repurposing some of that property.
Yeah, absolutely. Have anything to add to that?
I'm talking to a couple businesses tomorrow that do play structures. They did the one in Hood River, which is a lot of community involvement too with putting that together. I think Cody even helped put together the Hood River one.
I did too.
And yeah.
Good story. I mean, she left
yeah.
early, but she was there.
Yeah. And then there's another company that also sent a list of grants that are available to Washington Parks. It's great for communities, and plus our park does not have anything for ADA. Like if there's a child in a wheelchair, they don't get to go play at the park because they can't get through the bark chips. There's no swings, there's nothing for all children. So, and it's a big part of childhood is to have a good park to provide for the community and tourism. You know, people that do come into town that might want to go grab a bite to eat and let their kids go play at the park, eat. It's a nice environment to have in a community. So.
Tina, have you thought at all about partnering with the county and doing improvements on what they've got down there right
Yes,
now?
and David is willing, but I mean, there's things that have to be written up and to deal with. I mean, this is probably not anything that's gonna happen probably for a couple of years, but I mean, it's a big process to get those things done, but yeah. So David's willing to work with that also, so.
Good. Big step was just making sure that we'd have council buy-in to, you know, kind of pursue this. It's something we'll have to add to our capital improvement plan, so that way, you know, grants can be applied and then look for additional funding.
Yeah.
And if you could tie that into your Rock Creek improvement project.
You mean just made a swimming
Rock
area?
Creek Drive improvement project.
Okay.
With wayfaring signs, that type of thing. That may be a possibility for TAC funding.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Just.
Yeah, good point.
And the Resource and Conservation Office, State Resource and Recreation and Conservation Office.
Yeah.
Has a lot of grants.
There's a lot of grants there too,
There's a lot out there.
I will say, with the city of Hood River, when we did that project, we each got little blueprints. We each got sections and we got the tools. So just thinking out loud, Kelly, with your army of volunteers, I could definitely see something. And it probably saved the city, you know, $20,000 in installation costs. And a lot of and communities do that. So that could be a win too, to have the community help build it. So.
Yeah. And I know people with excavators that can do that.
You know, that have the equipment to do that.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, oftentimes all those volunteer efforts can really help you get grant dollars too.
Oh, that's true.
And it really shows the community buy-in, the partnership, and it really leverages those dollars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Cody?
Yeah, I got two more on parks. The walnut tree in Walnut Park. It's not looking so great. It hasn't been looking great for a few years. I reached out to a couple ISA certified arborists to kind of get some inspections to take a look at the tree. I'm obviously hoping to try to take some of the dead limbs down and maybe shorten it up a little bit, but seeing what we can do to retain it. Or if it's just too much of a safety hazard, I'm obviously gonna look to do core samples and see what the inside of the tree is looking like, but update council on that. And then, last thing in parks is we are reestablishing the irrigation in Triangle Park. So hopefully it actually stays great this year. Other than that, end of report.
All right. Thanks, Cody. All right, Shane.
So I provided my finance report to all of you. We discussed the treasurer's report and budget position report already. In addition to that, I just want to let you know that the EDA final reimbursement was submitted
for the wastewater collection systems upgrade that was completed. That should be just over $350,000 that we'll receive from them, for that project. I'm starting to prepare for the, state auditor's audit, the annual report. So getting things together, making sure everything's good to go before that's submitted, is due by the end of May. Don't have a whole lot else to add to that right now, just kind of plugging along. Okay.
Has the auditor's office designated what areas they're gonna be looking at?
This one's just the report for 25. It's not specifically an audit.
Okay,
We haven't really talked a whole lot about the audit itself yet.
okay,
So I am in contact with Josh though from the state auditors who we talked with before on the prior report. So he's keeping me up to date.
thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, all right, thanks, Jane. Voucher approval.
I move to, accept the vouchers as
All right, is there,
presented.
exactly, sorry, the language is not on the agenda here,
No.
my apologies.
Hold on.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right. Council committee reports. Lucy, it sounds like you had some comments. I'll give you the floor, 5 minutes or so.
Less. I have
Okay.
a very short.
Okay.
It is with great sadness and also relief that I must announce my resignation from Stevenson City Council, effective March 31st, Transgender Day of Visibility. It's been clear to me for a while that this would eventually become necessary. My mental and physical health have suffered almost as much this past year as they did when I was homeless. For the last several months, the only reason I have remained on council is because resigning too early would have resulted in dismissal of my recall appeal. I believe the precedent set by the Washington Supreme Court decision was too important to abandon the case. I am incredibly grateful to all the community members who gave me a chance in this position, to those who continue to support me in the face of harassment and threats, and for the opportunity to create new statewide case law. I hope everyone who participated in the online hate mob or disrespected my First Amendment rights has learned from these events. And I hope that going forward, we can work together to actually uphold liberty and justice for all people. I said last year that my middle names come from Queen Esther and Joan of Arc for a reason. If I could paraphrase a little from the book of Esther, chapter 4, verse 14, if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise from another place, but you will perish. And who knows, perhaps you have come to your position for such a time as this. I've been able to do more to feed the hungry outside this position than in it. I've done more to provide shelter for the homeless outside this position than in it. And I've done far more to defend the constitutional rights of my constituents outside this position than in it. I have more important things to do, and holding political power is no longer necessary to get them done. Jesus said, whatever you do for the least of these, you do for me. I will return for public comment next month as one of the poorest people in your community. This is the conclusion of my demonstration. Sorry it took so long, but I had no control over the timing.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you for your service, Lucy. What was the date on that again?
March 31st.
March 31st, okay. Do we need to do a motion here to accept the resignation? Okay.
No.
Okay. All right. Okay, all right. Any other council member reports? Okay. Issues for the next meeting. Yes, I have a few. So, so Angie, you'll be back, it sounds like, or she's gone. Vacation rental ordinance. We need to pick that back up. We had talked about that in February. So I think, Robert and I will get started on that, as well as, you had some comments for, Jeff. So,
And Tina.
yeah,
Tina and I had a conversation and I think,
okay.
we'd love to be able to provide some input as you go through them.
Okay, do you think we could be ready with those comments?
Sure.
Okay. Obviously the sewer ordinance, so, that's really, it's gonna be a lot of homework, so, let's put a lot of effort into that. And then we'll work on our first quarter budget adjustment. Okay, any other items to add to the agenda?
Do you foresee the discussion on the sewer ordinance being rather lengthy? And I'm just wondering if we need to have a separate
Well, that's
separate meeting specifically for that discussion.
I'm hoping not. I'm hoping, you know, with a lot of, if you guys can arm yourselves with a lot of information, get all on the same page. And then ultimately, we're gonna, you'll have options. You can beg and steal from those options. And that the next meeting or the meeting after, we could be ready for a vote. When do we need to have that? 6 months from the moratorium?
Yes, but that's only, we only have a moratorium on the penalty
Oh,
provision,
okay.
so it's not on the ordinance itself.
Okay, okay.
So if we're making changes to the ordinance, where do we fall as far as, public meetings, public comments and those kinds of things?
So your council member's handbook does address 2 public meetings for all ordinances.
Mhm.
It does say that. However, you guys have the right to not follow that particular guideline in your handbook. That's up to you. So if you say, we want to have the 2 meetings, 2 public meetings, you can have the 2 public meetings. You don't have to have more, but you can have 1 if you want. But if you're doing the sewer ordinance, I believe we saw from the last couple of years, you prefer 2.
Okay,
Just in case people aren't
I guess
available.
once we have this discussion about this, I think we need to have a public meeting so that everyone understands where we're at with this, so that we hear,
Okay.
again, their feedback.
Okay.
I think that's crucial.
So I think on my schedule here, I had, we had time for that.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I'd
and
like
I
to.
think it's, I will say, I think we're in a good spot, because if someone wants to go get a, their STC waived right now, they can. And right now, we've just put a stop on the penalty of what, $50 an hour, so it's really, or $50 a month. So it's really not impacting us financially. It's minute, so I think we're in a good spot, but we have 6 months
On the moratorium.
on the
To
moratorium.
August.
To August.
August 30th, yeah. But the idea, again, as Mr. Cox has pointed out, you typically, you keep going with the ordinance where you make tweaks and changes. So you've never gotten to
Yeah.
2 public meetings on the same document. You guys keep adding to or subtracting from, which is your prerogative. But Mr. Cox, that does put you in a bind if you just take, 2 sentences and you change it, and you're gonna wait another month for another public hearing.
Right.
But that's up to council on how you want to approach that.
Yeah, I would hope that we go through this, look at what the mayor has for us and see if we can come up with. I don't want to hear, I think we've had a lot of good input on what the existing ordinance is. I'd like to be able to put out an alternative out there and get the feedback on that. And you were also talking about wanting to simplify the ordinance as well, so it could look considerably different than the one that we have right now in terms of what we're trying to achieve, so yeah, that might stretch things out a little bit.
So I think I'm 1 step ahead of you. So April, finalized direction. May, return with draft ordinance language. June, first reading of revised
There you go.
ordinance. July, final adoption of and implementation planning, and then we have August maybe as a backstop. Okay,
I would also hope that as we look at this, we start thinking about from a public infrastructure planning aspect is where are the priorities for sewer in the future? So that we're kind of identifying what we're doing. A logic-driven situation that really says, yeah, we really need these services in these areas. So that parallels the ordinance. So folks have a clearer picture if this revised ordinance goes in place. Here's what it may look like in the future.
And in the past, that has been development driven. For example, Angel Heights, Hidden Ridge, Shenandoah. Those are all areas that didn't have sewer in there originally.
Yeah.
And so those developments drove that to those areas. So I think it means that we need to make sure that we're taking a look at, okay, what areas are development going to come into as opposed to 1 or 2 residential houses.
Yeah.
And how that affects it, so.
okay. Current ordinance is 48 pages. Goal is to get it to 25.
I'd say 10.
Okay, just want to set that expectation. All right. What else was there?
Public comment.
Thank you. All right.
And Cody, thank you for bringing in an arborist to check that tree, because I think we need to do everything we can to sustain that.
Absolutely.
That tree.
Okay, anything else for next month? Okay,
I will probably work with Robert to redo that. Was it a resolution on the
Oh.
FSEC stuff?
Yeah.
oh yes, thank you for reminding me on that, yes, okay, I'll put that on my list too. All right, additional public comment about things we talked about tonight, yes.
Brian McNamara, once again, thank you very much. Thoughtful conversation. Only been a couple of years. I'd recommend that, each council member consult with Dave and Pat Rice, and, because they have been the ones that have been pumping for fiscal responsibility and put the cards on the table. Mary has a point that she thinks that this somehow is going to trickle down to reduce her bills. There's no way. I'm sorry, that's not proven. So I hope that you guys will use Dave's obvious skill and, holding the line. We need financial justification of what our burden is going to soothe for the city, and especially in a situation where it was put up there and we don't need it. So I hope all cards are on the table, but I think we need financial justification. Just how much did all these sewer lines cost? Just how much do we expect to recoup? And is that fair compensation? And what portion of that, how many pennies on the dollar is my contribution as not needing a septic system going to handle her bills? And without that, I just don't think it's existing, because I've asked, and as this came about, and there was never any justification of how this is going to reduce everybody's bill. So I look forward to working together with you and with Van Pelt. There's a lot of people up the road that were supposed to be tapped into that dodged the bullet, and they are concerned. So that's all I got.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Yes.
I'd like to thank you for doing the draft of the ordinance. That's a lot of work. And also on the job description, I think that it's a lot harder than it looks on the surface. So
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks. Yes, Mary.
Well, thank you, Mary Rapar, Stevenson. A few questions. One, do you need a permit to do any work in Rock Creek from Ecology? And if you have access to your lobbyist, use them or her. The EDC contract, I've always been troubled by the EDC because they are not very publicly oriented. And if you ask them questions, they don't like to give you answers. The Lewis County, you see, got sued over that. So I would ask you to clarify with the EDC that they become more transparent and accountable to the community for the monies that they are using in our community. They're not their money, they're our money. And so that should be clarified a little bit. Do you all have a public records officer? I'm not sure where that falls in the descriptions, but if you're doing it, that should be clarified.
He's right there.
Oh, thank you. And the driveway standards, what I heard was, driveway standards for developers. No, driveway standards for the community that uses that community. What happened on last year's should never happen again. And I brought that up a few times. So the standards should be to make the community better for everyone, not just developers. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Yeah, sure. It's Thad Roth. I live here in Stevenson. At the risk of being the last commenter here, I'm starting to look around. I just want to reinforce what Mary has indicated, when it comes to sewer ordinance. We've heard a lot about the 25 people that are impacted today. There are many more people that are impacted every month that pay the sewer bill, and that are making a commitment to improve the community. And so I would encourage everyone to think about participating and supporting the wastewater treatment plant in the community as something that's a community asset, okay? What it appears to be is happening here, however it happened, if we have more capacity, then we have contributors, and that's causing the high cost. So we need to look to ways to increase the use of the capacity that we have. And as you meet with these 25 folks, I encourage you to do that. There are a lot more other of us out there that also like to meet with individual city council folks that to give our perspective on this issue as well. So just keep that in mind as we move this process forward.
Okay, thank you. All right, any more public comment? Okay, I will adjourn the meeting, 8:06. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. It's open for 8. Say first thing. I didn't. I don't. All right, so end the month. Okay.
So I think, hold on, I need to make sure I'll say that.